Greetings everyone. So we are about halfway through reviewing the first season of Doctor Who. However, we're still going to be on the first Doctor for a few more seasons to come. But anyway, so right now we're reviewing story number 5, The Keys of Marinus. And I heard that a lot of people don't really like this story, but I really enjoyed it. It was my favorite story until I watched The Chase. And then I watched The Celestial Toymaker, which is another video that a lot of people think was the worst story ever. But actually I really enjoyed The Celestial Toymaker. I guess I was really into game shows at the time. So, yeah. So, anyway, so The Keys of Marinus I'd say is my third favorite first Doctor story. But anyway, so let's start off with a brief plot summary so that we don't waste time. So, the last episode was the first episode to not end on a cliffhanger. So, we simply start off with the TARDIS landing on a planet, on an island in the middle of a sea. The TARDIS crew steps out and discovers that it's sort of like a sea of acid. So, no swimming in that one. Susan kind of almost did. But anyway, So yeah, it's a sea made of acid, and then they go explore a building on that island, and there's this weird sort of black alien thingy that is slowly following them. Then, while they're exploring the building, they all just got picked off one by one. The walls all of a sudden turn around and then capture them inside when no one else is looking, including the Vrood itself. Susan is almost attacked by the Vrood, searching for the others. However, a mysterious man in a white cloak rescues her and kills the Vrood. And soon the 4 people unite, and then the man claims that there are these keys of Marinus. Marinus is the planet that they're on, and there are keys to it. So, yeah, there's keys to it, and there's 5 keys, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 5. Anyway, so yeah, 5 keys. And, so he sent 2 people to search for those keys. And, all the 5 keys are scattered amongst Marinus. He has 1 of them, but he needs the other 4 to return power over Marinus. And he explains how he's the good guys and not the bad guys. And he sent 2 people to search for the first key, but they have not returned yet. And he says that he hopes that one day he'll be able to destroy the Vroods. He then says that they must find the keys for him. And they practically just leave. They say, no thanks, we're not in the mood, we fought Daleks, we escaped Marco Polo, we're done with those kinds of adventures, so see ya. And then that white cloaked man just does something very nice for them and locks them out of their TARDIS and blackmails them, saying that if they don't help him find the keys of Marinus, then they're going to stay there for eternity and die of hunger and thirst. And the choice was theirs, though Ian simply said, choice? What choice? So, the white man gave them a sort of wristband thingy that could allow them to travel through space, but not time, and they would have to search for the first key. Barbara decides to quickly demonstrate, and flicks a switch, and is immediately teleported to where the first key is hidden. Then the other 3 are about to turn the wristbands when the White Guardian quickly tells them that if when they return the Vrood had taken over the Marinus, do not give them the keys. You should destroy them. So the 3 take off. But moments after they do that, a Vrood comes in and kills them. So, immediately giving away that their work is for nothing. But anyway, so they arrive for the first key in Marinus, and they find Barbara's travel dial, when Ian notices something.
Oh, how exhilarating.
Yes. Where's Barbara? She should be here now. Barbara! Barbara!
It's Barbara's travel dial. Look, there's blood on it.
Soon after they discover that the travel dial has blood on it, the wall opens behind them, and it is revealed that Barbara is in quite like fancy clothes in a fancy castle with fancy furniture and everything. And there are people who are just serving them, giving them food and whatever they want. I mean, like, they say that they can do anything. Like that time machine they wanted all those years, they claim that they could do that. So, everyone seems to be okay with this, and they seem to be like, well, let's stop looking for this Key of Marinus. We kind of deserve a break. We've been to the prehistoric times. We've been to the Daleks. We almost exploded. We almost got left in the Marco Polo times forever. We deserve a rest. So then they sleep for the night. But then a woman walks in and puts little thingies on all of their foreheads that she walks around and puts it on all of their foreheads, including Barbara's. However, Barbara rolls over and her thing falls off in her sleep. When she wakes up, she finds that the room has changed. The room looks nothing like it used to. The room looks so crabby and such, and her dress is all like, just pieces of rags and stuff, and like what they think is actually a nice clean like wine glass or something is really just a dirty mug. She soon finds out that there are these creatures who are controlling this place, and the boy and the girl who were serving them earlier the other day, they once went there too, and were served by other people before they went to sleep and got hypnotized to work there forever. And then soon Barbara is terrified to find that Ian, the doctor, and Susan are slowly and more slowly becoming to them, and soon they don't even remember her. They're made to serve. But then Barbara simply just takes a baseball bat and destroys the creatures, which somehow makes them dehypnotized. And, so, yeah. So she kind of saved the day, and, So it turns out that the man who was serving them, his name was Altos. And the woman who was serving them, her name was Sabitha. And they were the two people that the white-cloaked man sent to collect the Keys of Marinus and never returned. And that was why they screwed up on the first key. So they find the key in the city, I guess, and then they have to go ahead to the next one. However, then Altos and Sabitha claim that there were actually 3 of them that were sent, and the third one went straight to the 4th key to find, while the other 2 struggled with the 2nd key. So the doctor tries to adopt his plan to sort of like spread out to try and find the keys more quickly so that they can get back into the TARDIS and flee. And yeah, so the doctor says that he's going to work on his travel dial to figure out how he can make it jump 2 more keys. And then Susan goes straight ahead to go find the 2nd key. And Barbara, Ian, Altos, and Sabitha are about to follow her. Meanwhile, unbeknown to them, while Susan is alone in the jungle waiting for them, she all of a sudden hears a terrifying, high-pitched noise.
She should have waited for
Now
us.
quickly, you must go and follow her.
by the time that the others arrive, the noise in the screaming jungle has stopped. Therefore, no one is sure if they should believe Susan or not, but they realize that doesn't really matter. So they go exploring, only to find that it's sort of like a maze of jungleness. So while Barbara and so they like split up into teams, and Susan and Barbara are one team. And while Barbara is searching, Susan is attacked by a branch, like literally attacked. It came to life and tried to attack her. However, by the time Barbara arrived, it immediately went limp. Therefore, Barbara doesn't really believe her that it attacked her. But anyway, so Barbara explores the maze, and at the end, there is a statue with the Key of Marinus right on the top. She reaches for it, and it falls off. And at that moment, the statue grabs her, and the walls reverse, making her trapped. Or at least, trapped on the other side of the statue. The others hear her scream, and they realize, whoa, okay, she's in trouble. So then Ian goes and looks at the statue, and finds out that it must have been some sort of booby trap. So he takes the key that fell off, and gives it to Sabitha. They have a quick discussion, and they realize that if Barbara was in real danger, she could use her travel dial to escape. However, Ian's being skeptical, and he wants to ensure that she is safe. So they decide to split. That Altos and Sabitha will take Susan to the next location, and they'll try and get the third key. And Ian will stay and try to figure out if Barbara has used her travel dial or not. So now they're even more split up, and there's even more chance of finding the keys even more quickly. So they're about to go off. However, when Altos and Susan vanish, Sabitha accidentally dropped the key that Barbara found. However, it was then that she noticed that key and the first key of Marinus, well, one was shorter than the other, and she knows that all of them were the same length, and they realize that must be a fake key, part of another booby trap. This gives Ian even more reason to stay, because now he still has the key to look for. So Sabitha takes off, ready to tell Altos and Susan what happened, and Ian falls into the booby trap on purpose. There he finds Barbara, who has not used their travel dial, and after going many booby traps, a man recovers them, and he starts to explain that he set up those booby traps in case if a Vrood or someone else tried to take the key. And then Barbara and Ian show him the travel dial to prove that they were sent by the man. And so he begins to tell where the key is, but first he explains how there's a screaming jungle approaching, and that's when he starts dying from old age, I guess. And then he gives out a letter and number code. Barbara and Ian then search around, and then they find a safe. So they try to use the safe with the letter and number code, but it doesn't work. That's when the jungle starts moving like it did with Susan's foot. That's when they realize that Susan was telling the truth when she said that she was being attacked. And Ian and Barbara are about to die from a jungle, and during their struggle, they accidentally knock a jar over. And that's when they realize that it has a letter and number code on it. That's when they realize that must be what it means. One of the jars has the letter and number code. So they search, and finally they find the right jar. They grab the key and get ready to turn the travel dial. They do and escape the screaming jungle, only to find another terror ahead.
It's wind coming right through me. We must move.
I can't move, Ian. I'm too cold.
Barbara, you've got to. We must move. If we don't find shelter, we don't stand a chance.
I don't want this to be too long, so long story short, after doing a whole bunch of some stuff, the gang gets put back together and then they're ready to go find the fourth key. However, they're like all teleported to different parts of this museum. And the first thing that Ian discovers is... I don't want this to be too long, so long story short, after doing a whole bunch of some stuff, the gang gets put back together and then they're ready to go find the fourth key. However, they're like all teleported to different parts of this museum. And the first thing that Ian discovers is... Ian wakes up to find out that he has been blamed for murdering that man. And then Ian's just like, but you can't say that I'm guilty unless if you prove that I'm guilty. However, they say, you were on the ground, the key's missing, you have a weapon in your hand, there's a dead man beside you, what more proof do you want us to find? But anyway, so to wrap it all up, the doctor is kind of Ian's lawyer, and they work together to try and figure out what really happened. And then the doctor comes up with a pretty good theory of what happened, but you're going to have to watch the show if you want to know what it was. And so during this, there is a cliffhanger that ends with Barbara receiving a call from Susan, who appears to be kidnapped, as she seems to be struggling to even to be speaking. But then she all of a sudden says,
I brought this for you.
Thank you.
I have to get back inside. Will you excuse me?
What is it? It says, there will be another death if you disclose where the key is hidden.
Barbara, do you realize what this means? It proves that someone else was involved. I must tell Karen and the doctor quickly.
Yes, but what does it mean, another death? Whose death?
Someone wishes to speak to you.
Hello? I want to speak to Barbara Wright. Susan? Barbara, they made me call you. Who, Susan? Who? Barbara, listen to it. Susan? Susan? Are you there, Susan? They're going to kill me. Susan?
if you want to know the whole story, then you can just take my advice and watch the story. Pretty much the only reason why I'm saying this is just to pretty much wrap everything up, and also it's kind of fun. But anyway, so, yeah, so they managed to solve the mystery. Ian is proved innocent, he doesn't get killed, everything's pretty good, and finally they take the travel dial back to Marinus. And if you remember, Arbitan was the name of the white-cloaked man. Sorry, I was struggling to try and remember the name. It's Arbitan. Anyway, so they go back to Marinus, and however, if you remember what I said at the end of episode 1, a Root came up and killed him, so their whole traveling thing is just for nothing. However, when they get back, the Root has sort of disguised himself as Arbitan, and then he claims how they're like to give them the key and to not touch him or go near him, otherwise he'll die or something. Oh, and he has already tied up Sabitha and Altos, by the way. But, so Ian and Susan, Barbara, and the doctor don't know that, so they're just like, just hand over the key. And Ian's just like, sure. So then he throws him a key. And then the Vrood takes it. And then he's like, well then, mister, our plan is complete. As soon as we insert all 5 keys, then we will be able to control this world. And then, meanwhile, the doctor, Susan, Barbara, and Ian had already discovered Sabitha and Altos is all tied up. And they explain how the Vrood is disguising himself as Albaton. And they're like, we need to take the final key and destroy it. And then Susan says, Ian gave it to the Vrood. And we're all just like, what? But then Ian claims that he gave him a key. Because remember back in episode 3, when Sabitha discovered a fake key that was slightly shorter than the other one, and that was the one that Ian gave them. At first everyone is happy, but then they realize that inserting that fake key could cause the whole building to explode, and they escape just in time as the Vroods die. So they all say their goodbyes, and Sabitha and Altos say that they're probably going to continue their life on that planet, on that island, and continue their life. And when Ian asks what he should do with the real Key of Marinus, they suggest, well, why not give it to the doctor? It's probably the only one left now. It's probably worth a lot. So then that's what he does. And then Altos and Sabitha go off into the distance, and Susan, Barbara, Ian, and the doctor go off into the TARDIS. And so leads to another episode of Doctor Who that does not end on a cliffhanger. I know that a lot of people really don't like the Keys of Marinus, and I know that a lot of people think that it's an okay story, but I simply just loved the Keys of Marinus. It's like in my top 5 First Doctor story. Hey, there's an idea for a YouTube video, my top 5 stories from each Doctor. So I really enjoyed it, and I know that a lot of you guys may be thinking, why do you like this story? It totally doesn't work out. It sucks. Well, I don't care what you guys think. I like this story, and I'm sure that a lot of people who are watching this video like it too. I mean, like, it's not my favorite First Doctor story, but it was until I saw some other episodes that I said at the beginning of this video. But anyway, so yeah, I would recommend it, though I'm not sure if you're really gonna like it, but, like, yeah, I mean, like, I would recommend it personally. I don't know if you're gonna enjoy it or not. You may hate it, you may not like it, you may think it's okay, you may like it, you may love it, I don't know. Just give it a watch and see what you think, and then review it on your YouTube channel, whatever. And I'll see you next time. We're going to review story number 6, The Aztecs. Ian wakes up to be blamed, committed, well,